I want to ask you just quickly, the film director Olivia Wilde has a new movie out, which she says is based on you, this insane man, this pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community. Incel being these weirdo loner men who are despicable in many ways. Is that you? Are you the intellectual hero to these people?
Sure. Why not? You know,
own it.
People have been after me for a long time because I've been speaking to disaffected young men. You know, what a terrible thing to do that is. I thought the marginalized were supposed to have a voice.
It's making you emotional.
Dog, he's eating too much liver, dog. That's what he's done, okay? Let me tell you something. That's not a normal way to talk about this sort of thing. There's something severely wrong with his brain chemistry. It's just it. That's it. Like, that's crazy. Too much meat, man.
It's very difficult to understand how demoralized people are. And certainly many young men are in that category. And you get these casual insults, these incels. What does it mean? It's like, well, these men, they don't know how to make themselves attractive to women who are very picky, and good for them. Women, like, be picky. That's your gift, man. All these men who are alienated, it's like they're lonesome and they don't know what to do, and everyone piles abuse on them.
When she said that, Olivia Wilde, it stung you, didn't it? I saw the
reaction. By
that
that time, you know, that as far as
this is why Andrew Tate was so dangerous, dog. After a certain point, like when your brain is so fucking irreparably harmed by the benzo plus like all meat diet, even the most diehard incels are gonna look at a dude who's like crumbling and crying and shit and go, yeah, that's too much for me, dog. I think that's like a little bit too much. You're like crying. That's weird. You know what I mean? Whereas like Andrew Tate at least is like, I'm a top G. I never cry. Crying is for pussies. You know? In a weird way, he's not toxic enough.
When Olivia Wilde made those comments, the first thing I did was go look at the preview for her movie, which I quite liked. I thought I would go see that movie probably, and perhaps I will. It didn't really bother me.
Bro, you're crying, dude. You are crying. What the fuck?
You've been so controlled today, and yet in that brief moment, you got very emotional. Why?
It's really something to see.
He's crying for the incels, man, the disenfranchised.
Constantly. How many people are dying for lack of an encouraging word.
26 months later.
And how easy it is to provide that if you're careful. You know, give credit where credit is due. And to say,
damn, they're zooming on his face, dude. Nerds on the internet are the most oppressed, marginalized group, especially nerds on the internet that fucking turn around and say that like black people deserve less and they're getting too much of the podium and shit. Those are the people that are the most marginalized. Why are they marginalized? Yeah, boy, yeah. Because they can't even say their ideas openly. Their video games are being taken away from them, where the video games now feature like black characters, you know what I mean? Female characters. Back in the day, video games were not political. Now they got political characters like that. It's really fucked up. How can he have so much sympathy and empathy for like incel dudes, right? And talk about them as though they are like the most marginalized people on the planet. And there is a level of that, especially because like a lot of these dudes are neurodivergent, right? Like there's a lot of incels that have like not the best mental health, all this shit, right? There are degrees of marginalization occurring with respect to these incels and shit like that too. But having said that, how do you have that level of fucking sympathy for those, right? Which I have some level of sympathy as well, and I talk about it all the time. But then when it comes to like a trans person, you're like, no, what your doctors are doing are butchering you. Like, that's crazy. You are overall such a horrifyingly awful human being when it comes to like other forms of marginalization, that it's like impossible for me to take you seriously when you are talking about fucking incels and shit. People who are asking like about the authenticity of this, right? I do think it's authentic. I think his tears are real. I don't think Jordan Peterson is like, good enough of an actor to fake cry about shit. I think those tears are very much real. I do also believe that his brain is broken. I think that's the reason why he's like crying real tears when he thinks about like a white weirdo kid who's like in these fucking forums writing about like Pokemon's underwear or whatever is like the real victim of society. You know what I mean? Like those are the real victims. Jordan Peterson's like ideal world. Those are the only people that are victims. You know what I mean? Like Leafy is here fans and shit. And I think that the reason why he feels that way is one, because he understands like where they're coming from, and two, because his brain is broken.
Do you believe you're a net force for good?
Net? Yes. In all the details, probably not. You know, no one's perfect. So
That's why he said net.
people make their mistakes as they stumble uphill.
Jordan's been a fascinating interview.
Bro, he is weeping. There's like snot coming out of his nose. This is like, how are you going to tell me if he's like crying real tears or not? Also, it's infinitely funnier that he is crying real tears. I can't be alone in this, I think. Like, here's what I think, okay? I think incels do deserve sympathy. Controversial take, I know. Everyone does. I try to lead by empathy all the time, but there's a level to it. My empathy for you stops the moment that you start attacking other people, especially other people over their inalienable characteristics, especially attacking people over like preconceived notions that you have about their about like whatever kind of weird stereotype you have of them in your head. And incels oftentimes are attacking a lot of other people, including myself, regularly. That's my take. That's why, you know, you catch me in a good moment and some fucking weirdo is saying like the most unhinged shit in my chat, I'm still going to try to be like, listen, man, you can change, you can get better. I know that's going to fall on deaf ears because that person probably thinks, because of all of their preconditioning, that person probably thinks I'm being, you know, sarcastic when I say I do care about you. You know, I do care about you. I hope you get better.
Yeah, I knew when I was teaching at Harvard and at the University of Toronto that some of the things I was teaching were revolutionary. I was surprised that I got away with it, let's say, as long as I did. And so there's a way in which it doesn't surprise me. And I wouldn't say that's because of the brilliance of my ideas. It's because...
Dude, he's so revolutionary. He was another conservative professor at Harvard, which of course, famously, there are none. I love that. I love the notion that like Harvard, an institution filled to the fucking very brim with like 75-year-old neck-bearded, weird, perverted right-wing professors. Those guys are all, you know, Jordan Peterson was another man amongst them teaching revolutionary things like pick yourself up by your bootstraps and communism is bad. So revolutionary. Has anyone legitimately thought that any of the things that he has ever said was considered revolutionary, like, or different or disruptive, really? Like, why? Why do we act like business school doesn't exist? Why do we act like most of these professors aren't like super right-wing? The only left-wing thought they have is that like gay people shouldn't be fucking dissolved into a vat of acid for their moral degeneracy. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't mean that they're fucking leftists, man. I'm sick and tired of this notion that like, oh man, well, these Harvard professors, they think like you shouldn't be murdered if you're trans. Oh, wow. How fucking woke are they? You know what I mean? That's crazy. Wow. So progressive. Thank you.
I'm good at communicating ideas, but the ideas that I've been developing, they're ancient ideas. They're the oldest ideas we have in some way.
So it's not revolutionary. Got it. Okay, so it's not disruptive, nor is it revolutionary, nor is it any different than any number of different fucking ideas that you hear any place.
No sense. So
You're
they have a power.
Right, absolutely. You launched the Peterson Academy. Tell me about that quickly.
Yeah, well, I've been collecting, along with my daughter, professors and educators from all around the world, and we're having them come to Miami to film 4 2-hour lectures on a variety of topics.
That's awesome. He's just like hitting the fucking full tilt. Every scam you can make. Yeah, Hustlers University. I love that. He's hitting every scam you can hit. Which, respect, you know? All right, let's look at the comments. The fact that he broke when he's speaking, those are downtrodden, shows exactly who he is at heart. A true gift to this world. I'm crying right alongside him. Those young men are so alone, so lacking connection and meaningful support. HasanAbi, how do we fix incels? I mean, you can't. Incels have to be led to the water. They need to fix themselves. You just can't. It requires a tremendous amount of self-reflection. It requires a lot of like bettering yourself, focusing on healthy habits, developing healthy habits, becoming a better human being, building fucking confidence. It's a complicated process, but if I was able to go through it, you can too.
Now let's look at this McLean's article on Jordan Peterson's thoughts on enforced monogamy, which parallels a lot of what Jordan just said to Piers Morgan. So speaking of Alec Manassian, who killed 10 people in Toronto with a van, Jordan says he was angry at God because women were rejecting him. The cure for that is enforced monogamy. That's actually why monogamy emerges. And remember what Jordan Peterson said to Piers Morgan about women being picky, which is why all these men, these incels, are upset. Peterson offers support for a core incel belief. He endorses the idea that some men are being denied sex because other men are taking all the sex from women who are allowed to choose to give them that sex, and that if something could happen to prevent all this, having sex with people of your choosing nonsense, some unlucky women would eventually have to settle for the incels. If we could just make that happen, these men would not have to be so...
Man, society with enforced monogamy, dude.
So someone killed 10 people because he was angry at God because he couldn't get his fuck on. And Jordan Peterson says maybe if women weren't so picky and let him get his fuck on, then maybe 10 people wouldn't be dead. Which is maybe the most incel thing ever said. But let's watch this back for the moment Jordan actually gets triggered, because I think it's the most interesting part. He's all laughs and smiles when he thinks Piers Morgan is just asking about Olivia Wilde. Like, oh, we get to disagree with a woman. Yeah, this is the best. But Jordan's expression completely shifts when Piers gives a pretty accurate description of incels.
I want to ask you just quickly, the film director Olivia Wilde has a new movie out, which she says is based on you, this insane man, this pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community. Incel being these weirdo loner men who...
Oh my God, it's true. His face does start changing. At first he's like, oh, this is great. We're gonna shit on Olivia Wilde. I guess she was wilding out, you could say, as the kids are saying nowadays. And then it slowly starts to shape like despair, or aware, sorry. Yeah, like that emote. We gotta run it back. Look.
Hero to the incel community. Incel being these weirdo loner men.
Oh my God! I love that. Thank you, Jordan Peterson. Yes, thank you. Please give us more of that.
Bonus Ben Shapiro.
Ben Shapiro complains about Lizzo taking an instrument that speaks to the sort of gentility of America's founders being brought into a context that is vulgar. The vulgarization of America's history.
The one that actually made the rounds, however, was her twerking. Because it is the contrast. That's the whole point that they are making. And commentators were saying this. It is the contrast between Lizzo, a significantly overweight African-American musician, right? Because the idea is that it's groundbreaking for an African-American musician to play James Madison, one of the...
Wait, but I don't understand. Like, what is he saying? It's groundbreaking for, someone who's thick to twerk? Because that part is not necessary. What? Does this dude live in a fucking cave? What is happening? Punish Ben Shapiro. One, the beard doesn't look good. Okay, shave it off. I know I joked a lot about Ben Shapiro, like, not being able to grow facial hair. And I suspect some of my disses have made it to him. And he's like, look, I'm putting a lot of Rogaine on here to make sure that it does grow. I can grow a robust and thick beard. It literally looks like when you're a kid and you like take the beard clippings of your dad and try to like paste it on your face. That's what his beard looks like.
Founders of the Constitution to play his flute. That's the groundbreaking aspect. But really, it isn't even her race, right? They tried to make it about her race. It isn't really her race, because I'm sure that if they had wanted to find a better flautist who is black, then
a better flautist. The integrity of the flautists are under attack.
Lizzo, I'm sure that there are many black flautists who are significantly better than Lizzo, right? They play in orchestras around the world. I'm sure they are wonderful. Understand it's the twerk. It is about the twerking. The story is solely and completely about the twerking, which is why you didn't see the first video. The first video has a few views. The one of her playing very nicely in the Library of Congress while dressed somewhat decently. It is the second video where she is twerking and wearing skimpy outfits with the flute. That is because the idea is to degrade the culture. That is what people, that is why the clip is viral. The reason the clip is viral is the contrast between a person twerking and the idea of an extraordinarily classy instrument, a historic instrument that speaks to sort of the gentility of America.
It's a penis, Ben. It's a cock. It's a cock, Ben. It's just, you're talking about a penis-shaped instrument that you fucking blow into like a penis. That's what you're talking about. The gentility. Also, art is about contradictions and degeneracy in every aspect of cutting-edge art. There were people just like Ben Shapiro. Why are the early-stage impressionists actually showing naked bodies of women and not necessarily the beautiful angels? All of a sudden, now we're drawing prostitutes. These impressionists have gone out of control. Somebody needs to stop them right now. Monet, how about you get zero money with your art? But that's what it's about. It's about destroying the cultural integrity.
It's the vulgarization of American history. Again, Lizzo did both, and only one of those clips went viral. And so if you notice that, then you're very, very bad. If you notice that, then this means that you're some sort of racist, or it means that you don't want black people playing the flute or something. No, I just don't want people twerking with historic instruments.
Why? Why? Who cares? Fucking dork. Oh my God. Why are you so triggered by this? Jesus Christ. Who cares?